I'm just saying with the humility of you don't really know um, where you are in the arc of emergence, right? So the metaphor I would say is, let's say you go back to the last great transition I think that humanity went through, which is really pre-modern to modern. So this was from basically the Catholic Church, medieval times, which extended back into Rome and stuff, and forward to modernity, which, the peak of which would be, I don't know, the French Revolution is the final victory, or 1850 or 1950 or something. So that's 1,000-year journey between, the High Middle Ages and, now. And we are going through, I think, another one of those great transitions, culturally, socially, economically, but I would say most profoundly ontologically. So in how we see ourselves as human beings, how we see the world, what we view, what we value. And I think I'm always trying to say how difficult that those changes are, is if I live as someone under the end of the Catholic Church before basic Protestantism, the most important thing for me in the world is to go to heaven. And the way to do that is through the Catholic Church. And someone is about to come along and tell me that no, I'm only going to go to heaven through faith alone, through my own actions, and through reading the Bible. And that, in fact, if I go to this old, massive institution that's been around for 1,000 years, the Catholic Church, which has all of this authority, all of this integration into my society, in fact, I may go to hell. I will be damned. I mean, I just think it's sometimes difficult to conceive of how massively, ontologically, ground shaking that must have been for people. And I mentioned Protestantism because people think of the Enlightenment or something as the moment of the victory of modernity. But in a way, Protestantism and many things are really the precursor of that, of individuality, really, many things. So thinking for yourself kind. And so at this moment, we live in a civilization, or I live at least in a civilization, not everyone on the earth, but the kind of, I would say, the lead, for good or ill, like a leading edge or dominant, not saying it's a good thing, dominant civilization, it's materialist, kind of reductionist, religion largely has kind of been pushed to the edges we just discussed. More is better, more stuff is better. We can describe it. And, that just want to really acknowledge, like Sylvia mentioned this point before, not to denigrate that. There's often a lot of denigration, but wow, we have modern healthcare, we have all these amazing things. But that system is kind of not working, right? I think that for people probably on this podcast, I don't need to go into detail, but we're constantly more materially and so on. There's a bankruptcy kind of the economic system, and there's probably a bankruptcy of the kind of meaning system, of sense making. There's breakdown. And just as I think in the end of the Middle Ages, with the beginning of the Renaissance, the period even of Protestantism through till later, there's a huge clash of sense making. There's a huge clash between how to make sense of what's going on in reality, of meaning making. So just that example of is the Catholic Church got the truth, or has Martin Luther got the truth? Even over COVID, do scientists have it, or should you take the vaccine? Or you can just see these kind of breaking apart of how we make sense or agreement about what's going on. So where are we in the process of emergence, was the question you asked me. I think something has definitely accelerated in the last 10 years. When I'm 43. When I grew up, there was a kind of, it was working, the democratic West had won, China would go down, there was a story, there wasn't a lot of alternative thinking. I think in the last decade, the number of people who now think that something is foundationally wrong versus just not working, oh yeah, things don't work, but foundationally, in the foundations of our civilization, is grown massively. I don't know what percentage it is, but I think double digits possibly now. But the number of people who go from that either out of despair into hope, or into finding solutions, is still, I think, quite small. If I'm honest, I think for myself, the sad thing is I remember asking a Zen teacher once, and when do people change? I asked him, and he said, when they have to. So the point was that people normally needed quite a serious crisis of some kind, unfortunately, in their personal life before they take on deep change.
Along with our website at portalsofperception.org, Portals is also available on YouTube and on all podcast platforms, as well as social media. You can become an active member and join the conversation in community events. And you can help us get the word out by liking this content and by sharing it with your friends.